guys, welcome back to Gold Key Geezer. Robert Max here in the Geezer Cave. This is episode number 5. I know it's been a while since I've been around, Summer winding down and camping season winding down and things going on at work. You know how it is. But I'm back now. Graphic Man had sent me a few invites to the 4-Color Fossil live streams on Wednesday, and Wednesdays just aren't good for me right now, and I hope he understands. If possible, I pop into the chat room when I get home. But anyway, from the title, you see that this is a super Sci-Fi 70s set. That's a tongue twister, huh? And it's from Whitman. It's another one of those short, sweet, and complete comic runs. And it's, it's hard to call this a regular comic because they were released simultaneously, I believe, in 1976 by Western with the Whitman imprint, and that is Starstream. Now, what this was adaptations of science fiction stories from some, at the time, legendary writers, and in a few cases, some people who were unknown that would go on to become famous. There were 4 issues. This is number 1. You can see it has the Whitman imprint up here in the corner, but it's not the typical, little glare there. It's not the typical Whitman, with the smiley face that you usually see on comics. This is something that this imprint you might see on a a coloring book or something like that. But anyway, this was like a heavy cardstock cover. These were adaptations of science fiction stories, like I said, from some legendary science fiction writers. There are a few original stories written exclusively for Starstream. This is issue number 1, as I mentioned. To me, the big feature story in this is Who Goes There, the John W. Campbell legendary sci-fi short story that would go on to inspire The Thing from Another World. One of my all-time favorite horror movies, if not my favorite, it's in my top 3. John Carpenter's The Thing. And some would argue that 1972's Horror Express also was inspired by Who Goes There. That movie had Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Telly Savalas. You've probably seen it. It's been on TV quite a bit in the 70s. But anyway, there's issue number 1. And another thing about this issue, the first story is written by a then unknown Dean R. Koontz. Number 2 features a story by Larry Niven and Robert Silverberg. Here's issue number 2. I'm not sure who painted these covers. I know it's not George Wilson, but I do not recall who it is. There's number 2. Theodore Sturgeon story in number 3, called Microcosmic God. Anne McCaffrey, she would go on to become a famous sci-fi fantasy writer. There's Starstream number 3. And like I said, all 3 of these were simultaneously published in 1976. Full disclosure, I got to admit, honestly, I don't remember seeing these, but I'll tell you what, if I had, yeah, they definitely would have been scarfed up. Here's number 4, Isaac Asimov. I mean, come on. Paul Anderson, legendary sci-fi writers. And that's number 4. And that's a really interesting cover there. I don't know if you could see it. It's sort of a psychedelic, bad acid trip look to it, to me anyway. Not that I would know anything about things like that. Yeah, so there we are. 4 issues of Starstream. That was all there were. I believe they were released simultaneously. There are no cover dates, but you know what? They are pretty hefty for 1976. 79 cents. So, We're going to take a look at one of these stories. When I put one of these issues on the table, you could probably guess what story that's going to be. And I'm going to compare it to the short story and the movie adaptations. And we'll do that when I get back, so I hope you stick around.
The following report to the Royal Geological Society is a true and faithful account of events that befell the Society's expedition in Manchuria. I must accept responsibility for its ending in disaster.
What was in there?
I told you, a fossil, part ape, part man. It lived 2 million years ago.
Take a ride on the Horror Express. Positively the most blood-chilling thriller ever conceived. Siberian tundra, the Horror Express rampages towards its destination of doom. See the dead come alive and the living howl in terror on a non-stop ticket to hell in Horror Express. Starring Telly Savalas and those masters of horror, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Horror Express.
Okay, we're back. Boy, for how many times I said legendary in that first segment, you could probably have a drinking game, But anyway, what do you think? Horror Express. Yeah, I think, it's a possibility that the screenwriters may have been influenced by who goes there. It's really hard to say. I'm not claiming that they pulled a Sam Raimi. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's this movie where this group of young adults go in search of their professor from college, their professor's cabin, and they discover this ancient evil book, which they start to read from, and all hell breaks loose. So, of course, it sounds like I'm talking about The Evil Dead. Well, I guess I could be. But I'm not. I'm talking about a 1970 film called Equinox with some great, it's a bit dated. If you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. But like I said, it is a bit dated, but it's got some great stop motion special effects that even the great Ray Harryhausen approved of, and praised. And note, I said great Ray Harryhausen, not legendary. Whoop, there you go. Have a drink. All right, so let's take a look at Starstream number 1. Now, this cover, I don't know who did the artwork. I probably should have looked that up. But it has sort of like a kaleidoscope or a Rorschach test, blot test kind of look to it. But anyway, that's the cover of Starstream. Now, like I said, it is a heavier cardstock for the cover. Cover price of 79 cents. All 4 issues have this little blurb in the beginning from a Sir Arthur Thompson. A convocation of the Lunar Astronautical Symposium April 5th, 2026, on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the lunar base Genesis. I believe the same little poem or whatever statement is in all 4 books. Okay, so we get a table of contents. As you can see, no ad on the inside cover. On the back cover, we get an ad for Starstream itself. Blast off with Starstream, 4 great first editions, all new comic adaptations of the best stories in the science fiction galaxy, featuring science fiction's most celebrated authors: Asimov, Anderson, Niven, Sturgeon, Van Vogt, Campbell, McCaffrey, and many others. On the inside back cover, we get a general advertisement for Western publishing comics, Star Trek, UFOs, Twilight Zone, and the like. The Occult Files of Dr. Spectre, probably my favorite Western title. I don't know, there's a couple of them that are pretty close for me, but Dr. Spectre's near the top of the list. Okay, way off track. Well known for that. So, sometimes people say that for how great the Gold Key covers are, that the art inside the books is often lacking. I don't know. I don't feel that way. I mean, I am no art expert, nor do I claim to be. But anyway, I think the art in this story, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself again, is just fine. Now, Who Goes There, of course, was written by John W. Campbell Jr., I believe in 1938. He wrote it under a pen name. I don't recall what that is. But he spent most of his career as an editor, for the science fiction pulps. Science fiction and fantasy, I believe. But this story has been adapted by Arnold Drake with art by Jack Abel, as you can see down near the bottom of the page here. Jack Abel. Okay, so right off the bat, this story has this crew in the Antarctic discovering this spaceship. Now, we'll talk about some differences right here, right off the bat. Okay, so this is where this story starts. They discover the spaceship. In the original Who Goes There novella, the creature or thing or whatever has already been discovered. It's sitting in, inside one of the buildings in their outpost, slowly thawing out while they're having a discussion on what to do with it. And during that discussion, the MacReady character, who in the original novella and also in this adaptation is like second in command, whereas from the Carpenter movie, that role was played by Kurt Russell, and he was he was the helicopter pilot. So he was just, one of the guys that was there assigned. He was not second in command or anything like that. And there were a lot more personnel in the original story compared to, the John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, you know what? I'm just going to throw this out there. The Howard Hawks The Thing from Another World is only very vaguely, in my opinion, based on the story, So we'll just leave that at that. The comparisons I'm going to make are with the original novel, this comic adaptation, and the Carpenter 1982 film. Okay, so of course, I'm sure you're familiar with The Thing, either this original story or the Carpenter remake or even The Thing from Another World. But they discover, this creature encased in ice. Now, here's another difference. Once they discover this creature and bring it back to their compound, and you can see here, this is where they're having the discussion. This is actually the scene right here where the short story begins. And like I said, MacReady recounts to the rest of the crew all of this stuff that happened, how they discovered this thing. Now, in this comic adaptation, they just stumble upon this while they're out there doing some testing. In the original novella, they are out investigating a secondary magnetic pulse. It's a smaller magnetic field. They're supposedly stationed over the polar magnetic south. But they've detected this other signal, which turns out to be the spaceship. Okay, they don't really go into that in the comic here. They're just out there, taking readings, conducting their, scientific experiments that they're there for. Okay, but we see eventually as this creature thaws out, this is what it looks like in this comic adaptation. It's also described that way by Campbell in the short story. 3 eyes, worm-like hair, things like that. But I kind of got off track a little bit. There is some ambiguity in the Campbell novel as to whether or not this alien creature, they've determined, or they've decided that this is an alien creature. Obviously, it's never been seen on Earth before, so it must be. There is some speculation or ambiguity in the Campbell novel as to whether or not this creature is the quote-unquote thing, or if this crew from another world, crash landed in Antarctica and were possibly infected by whatever was the thing. But that's kind of left ambiguous, I found that kind of interesting in the novel. It was something to think about. And there's going to be some more things like that from the short story or novel or whatever. But, the basic premise. This is a tale of paranoia and isolation. And, the thing starts infecting first the dogs. And you can see here. Now, if you remember from the Carpenter film, the movie doesn't start like either this adaptation or the original novella. It starts with, the Norwegian helicopter crew trying to shoot down this dog. We don't know why. It's brought into the U.S. Antarctic camp, and of course, it's infected with or possessed by or whatever by the thing. I found this panel really interesting here. I mean, check this out. It's kind of described by Campbell in the short story. So you can see this thing is sort of semi-morphed into one of the huskies or one of the sled dogs. Now, if you're familiar with Carpenter's The Thing, that, all those effects in that movie, and they were incredible in my opinion, were all practical. There's no CGI. Well, maybe there's some little things that they did. There was no CGI back then. But, I wonder if Rob Bottin, who did the practical effects for that movie, if he had seen this, because he goes a lot further than this. But you've got to remember, this is a comic book, kind of geared towards children. And Campbell's description is not very graphic, but if you know the movie, the lengths that he went to show how this thing can absorb other lives and morph into all this stuff, and how it had acquired all these different types of biologies and whatnot over the centuries, I guess. I don't know. But, like I said, we're not going to do a panel. Well, if I didn't say it, I'm saying it now. We're not going to do a panel-by-panel retelling of this. But, of course, there's all this, paranoia as to who is and who isn't the thing. And, they do in this, they do conduct the test like they did in the short story and also in Carpenter's film, to try to determine who is and who is not possessed or under the control of the thing. And, the one character in the movie played by Wilford Brimley, Blair, he's like the biologist in the crew. In this adaptation and also in the novel, he kind of freaks out and says, this thing can escape. We have to destroy all forms of transportation and, our radios so no one comes to get us here. And we're basically going to stay here and just die because we can't allow this to get off of Antarctica and infest the rest of the world. So they lock him up. They lock Blair up and kind of forget about him while they're conducting all this testing and other things. And plus, some of the crew members, as you can see here, have turned. They haven't changed form, but they are all three possessed by the thing. And, so they have to be eliminated. So they conduct the test. And when they finally remember that, hey, we have Blair locked up, we better check on him. They go out to the shed where they have him locked up, and they find that he was possessed, or is possessed, or has been taken over by the thing, and had been working on a small nuclear reactor. Because when he got locked in there, he kind of boarded himself up in there. He didn't want to be interrupted. So because they were so preoccupied with everything else that was going on in the compound, while the Blair thing was inside this locked shed, he had created a small nuclear reactor and was actually working on an anti-gravity device to allow him to, get away, leave Antarctica and, infest the rest of the world. Now, we get a happy ending here because they destroy the Blair character. And, of course, they have this technology. It doesn't really say what they do with it, but, they say here at the end, unlimited energy, anti-gravity, Doc. Do you realize how close we came to losing our whole world? I know, Mac. Sheer accident. It landed here. Couldn't possibly happen again, could it? But that's what we're left with. We're left with kind of a resolution with this comic book adaptation. The thing is destroyed. It has not left Antarctica. And, everything's good in the world. In the Campbell novel, yes, they destroy the Blair creature in the shed. They discover the fission reactor or fusion reactor or whatever it is, and also the anti-gravity device. But there is a little bit of speculation at one point. Well, not speculation. It's sort of left open-ended, ambiguous, once again, because they notice some gulls or albatross flying around. And it crosses, either someone mentions it or it crosses someone's mind as, wow, what if one of those birds was infested with the thing, this alien presence? Now it can get, to the mainland, or, well, not the mainland, but, to the other continents on Earth. And, of course, the ambiguity in the Carpenter movie, the Blair character is destroyed, but it is working in the movie. It's working on a spaceship, which MacReady, of course, blows up. But at the end, MacReady and Childs are left. They're the only two left, and they're sitting there, looking at each other, wondering, which one of us is okay? Are we both okay? Are we both not okay? Very dark, nihilistic type of ending. You left wide open for a sequel that never came. My opinion, one of the best horror movies ever made, horror sci-fi movies. Like I said, if not my favorite, definitely in my top 3. And it's hard to believe that, when that movie was released, it was panned. Totally panned. It was a total bust, a flop, and I'm sure it didn't help that it was released the same time as E.T., you got, here are your two alien creatures. You got lovable E.T. and his Reese's Pieces, and then you got this grim, dark vision from Carpenter. So anyway, that was the adaptation of the John Campbell story, Who Goes There, in Starstream #1. I do believe, and I'm pretty sure now after reading the back cover, that all 4 of these, they're not even calling them issues, they're calling them editions, were released simultaneously. And really glad I picked these up. Nice back cover, showing all 4 of those covers. And there's that crazy bad acid trip cover of #4. Okay, so that's going to do it for this episode of Gold Key Geezer. If you stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for your patience. And please consider liking, subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. And you could also hit that bell thing, the notification thing. You'll be notified whenever I get another video up. I'm hoping things will slow down for me, that I can get the I can get to some more videos more frequently. Coming up soon is going to be like my Commandy overview and how I discovered Commandy. I'm really looking forward to doing that episode, and that'll be coming down the road. I don't know if it'll be next or not, but it's coming down the road. So once again, thanks for sticking around if you're here this long, and I'll be back again with another video in the near future, and I hope in the near future. And until then, take care.